Yeah, you will have to reveal who you are in order to be a part of this meeting. So please follow Deborah's request and reveal who you are.
Just let us know, please.
You could let us know in a chat if you were unable to change your DC identity.
Yeah, that would be fine. But it's just something that the town said that we're able to do and that people should do when we have these meetings.
I think anyone who is not identified ought to be expelled from the meeting.
Yeah, it's more like, I think we understand that.
Well, we're trying to be open and welcoming to everybody. So, we're all part of the same town. We hope. I don't think there's somebody here from Mars, but you never know. Yeah. Do we want to wait for Laura? She said she had to take care.
Yeah, she's going to be here in a minute. Yeah.
Okay. So appreciate everybody's patience. Appreciate everybody's patience.
George, you're echoing.
Every bit. Okay. So I would actually ask if you're not. If you're not on the task force, if you could please mute yourself.
We're hearing the repeat, as you might notice.
Whoever's hosting can mute someone if they need to.
It's me, and here's what technology gets me.
It's fine.
So whoever is not.
George, could you please mute yourself?
Sorry, I just unmuted myself, so I just wanted to ask a quick question. Then I forgot.
We have a public be heard period. George, we have a public be heard period. At the end.
It's an operational thing. I was looking on the town website to find an agenda and minutes for these meetings, and I couldn't find them. So maybe you could tell me where to look.
There are no agenda and minutes go to the public. It's just part of the members task force, and so that won't be something you'll find. So you'll learn the agenda when you by participating here. And once again, I'd like to mention that whoever DC is, you will be removed from the meeting if you don't reveal who you are. You have a few minutes left, and then we're going to remove you from the meeting if you don't reveal who you are.
Oh.
We don't show up public meetings with masks on our face. All right, we've given a couple minutes, number of minutes for DC. Deborah, I make a motion that we move to.
I could put this person in the waiting room, and if and when they want to reveal who they are, we'll let them back in. I would be comfortable with that.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So, I just want to talk about that.
This is not the first time that person has done that, but this is the first time.
We didn't request their to reveal themselves. So
I agree.
We're trying to get something done for the community. We've had multiple documents out for, most recent one since April, and the previous one a year before that. All of these documents have been on the website. There's an email that anyone can send in questions to or comments. we regularly monitor that, we evaluate everything, and we're really working assiduously through a process to get to something that we think will be of benefit to the town, that will be consistent with the comprehensive plan as required by the State Department of State guidelines for communities that have comprehensive plans. We're trying to address multiple issues that will be done in a responsible way to provide housing options, not clunked down in one place, but dispersed carefully through the town, respectful of environmental conditions and existing site conditions and the existing districts. So I just want to say we appreciate the comments we've gotten since April. We've taken them all very seriously, gone through them individually, and we're working through them. And when we have any changes to that, we'll have some changes based on that evaluation. And I just want to say that we appreciate those of you who've submitted and that we've really taken them, gone through them very carefully. And
yeah, I'd like to add a little bit more to that, Deborah, that for the 2.5 years that we've been meeting, we've met at public meetings with the town board and other boards and committees of our town at their public meetings. We've reported to those towns and boards. When we did release our material that we've been working on to the public, we released full documentation of supporting documents to enable people to understand what we've been doing. And so, yeah, and the docs are on the web, they're listed on the site, and you can find them in the site. If you have any trouble identifying where they are in the site, you can contact the office there and they will help you navigate that. But we've had, in 2021, when we first came out with the first version, and then we spent 10 months reviewing all of those comments. All of that is documented. When we came out again in the following year in 2022, April, again, all the documents that we provided were made available. We've been open to the public through the link of zoning updates at woodstockny.org since the beginning of our project. And so we've been open to the public. We've been transparent. The only part that's not been transparent is our workings in this meetings, because these meetings are very detailed and there are a lot of discussions, and we frankly it's easy to pull things out of context, and that's what we are not into doing. We're into providing a thorough, comprehensive set of documents of our work when the time is right, and which we will be doing again in the very, very near future. So anyways, that I just wanted to articulate some of those things of what we've been doing, and as far as the transparency of this work with the town. And so Nan is here.
Right. Before Nan joins us, Kirk, I just thought I would kind of just quickly, because we haven't had a chance to update with her what you and I discussed this morning about, we understand, because we have taken in a lot of comments since April, and it takes some time going through them. We've gone through them. We've discussed many of them here. We've evaluated what would be improved. The draft laws that we have already presented in April, and which was to be expected. We've also incorporated and taken into account the county's comments. There were a couple of things they required and other things that they recommended. The planning board, the environmental commission, the complete streets committee, all of those. And so Nan is taking that and putting them into a new revision that we are reviewing and just making sure everything's right. And that's kind of and that we've incorporated everything in there correctly. And so that's a bit of work that we're all doing right now. And so what we wanted to do this morning is really just to check, as a check-in. We understand we're all obviously wanting to finish that review, and so that Nan can put them into final form that we could send to the town board, and they could schedule a public hearing. And so we know that that's going to take a little bit more time. And so we just wanted to acknowledge that, and that how important it is that we take the time to do it. And also that, you know, this week, I think will really, and into next week, into early next week, would really be the most helpful for us to have that review done. And Kirk, did you want to add anything before I call on Judy? So we call on Judy.
No, please do.
Okay, so Judy, you want to?
I want to suggest, since we're getting very close to the point where we're ready to give this to the town board, that we define a cutoff point for comments.
Well, we tried to do that for this week, but we realized that that was a little premature because we needed more time. It's partly dependent on Nan's schedule, but if we, I mean, is next Tuesday, next Wednesday, sometime next week? I mean, I'm kind of throwing that out there, but it's partly, you know, Nan, your schedule. If we get back to you by the middle of next week, is that reasonable, or should we push to do it sooner? I know you have a lot of other things.
You're muted, Nan.
Sorry about that.
We need a t-shirt.
What?
We need a t-shirt.
Oh.
You're muted.
Oh.
So let me just understand. So I thought that you needed this all from me by Tuesday. So are you saying that that's not the date anymore, and that
right.
may have other changes?
Right.
That is, if you get it to me by midweek next week, then when do you need it by?
Well,
We can work that out, but we definitely, you know, what Deborah's pointing out, Nan, is that the press to be ready by, you know, Tuesday morning is no longer an issue.
Well, we just didn't all have the time to review the document. So we're just kind of pushing it a little bit, and that seems to be fine. If we go to the end of next week, in other words, if we get something to you by Tuesday or Wednesday morning, is it reasonable? Do you have the time to look at that and get back to us by the end of the week or the beginning of the following week?
Yes, if you get it to me, you know, by the end of the day, Tuesday, is that feasible?
It could be.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I don't know. I haven't heard back from you to know what level of changes I would need to look at. I mean, it could be 5 minutes, it could be 5 hours. I mean, I have no idea, but I have Wednesday is open.
Good.
Most of Thursday is open. Part of Friday morning is open. So
okay,
if you want it by the end of the week, I think that I would like to have it either Tuesday evening or Wednesday morning, and then I could use Wednesday and Thursday to
That's great.
work on whatever you need working on.
That's great. Yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah, I think that would be good. So that we could, and part of the reason I think is we've been kind of saying, because everybody's doing so many other things, and we just, and you know, and I just want to emphasize, you know, we're not, so of the 100 or so of the 300, you know, pages that are either new or revised since we started this process, we've made a lot of changes which went into the April 18th submittal to the town. So we're not going back to revisit all of those. There may be some that we're tweaking, and that we're in response to the comments we're getting, which, as I said, have been very helpful, and that we've respectfully reviewed very carefully, but that we're not asking the task force to revisit the decisions we've made, even subsequent to April. We've had discussion, we've made some other decisions. You've reflected those in the latest document we're reviewing. And so that's really, we're confirming that is primarily what we're doing.
Yeah. All right. Well, if you could plan on getting it to me, even Tuesday evening, late, whenever,
Okay.
I'll start
Okay.
working on it Wednesday morning.
How does, Judith, I see you nodding your head. Does that sound good?
Yeah, I was just wondering if we were going to review the punch list, as you call it, during this meeting, then I'll have a better sense of what.
Well, I sent that to her, so she
Okay.
has that. So I think we're in good shape to kind of, and I know, Richard, you've also, and you have a talk coming up this weekend. Is that right?
Yeah, I was actually appreciating the delay in the meeting because I worked I'm still working. Yeah.
I figured.
Yeah.
So that's, again, why we wanted to be able to, because we want everybody on the task force to, having been involved in the discussions, in the decisions, in the recent decisions, in reflecting the comments that we've gotten. We want everybody to review that. Okay.
I wanted to address Judith's expression of interest in terms of the comment deadline. I think that at this point, we are basically, all the other comments, if any, as they come in, are going to be, they're going to be in the public comment period, because there will be more comments that will come, right?
Sure,
So
and there'll be a public meeting, public hearing.
yeah, we
Correct.
really don't need to have a cutoff period, because we're going to be giving it to Nan next week as we're talking, and then that's going to create the final what's the results of the work that's going to be given to the town board, and then that then it'll be up to the town board to manage the comments as they come, because it'll be in their hands at that point, and we will undoubtedly be receiving comments from them. But whether it trickles to us or whether it's given to us all at one time, we don't know what that's going to be like.
That's
So
going to be up to the town board.
it's going to be up to the town board,
The only reason I raised it is for somebody to start reading the documents
Right.
now and start sending us comments. It's like that train left.
Exactly.
Right. But that's why, again, because the town is going to have a public hearing, there'll be comments. All of those comments can then be folded in to that process. So nothing's going to be left on the cutting room floor, as they say. Right.
Yeah, so there really isn't any need to be concerned from the public's perspective that they're not going to be heard. As we took 10 months to review the comments the first time from version 1. We took months this time again through the summer and through many other things that everyone's doing. Richard's experience is just an illustration of that, and it's times every person on this task force. And so we've been taking many months and many hours, numerous hours, reviewing every single comment. So that's sort of the nature of our task and our integrity regarding this effort. And so today, I think what we want to try to do is we want to just sort of like give everybody a sense of like the emphasis is on these last steps, is to muster the effort, muster the strength to focus a little longer on reviewing what has come from Nan and the comments and the revisions that she's made, add comments to those revisions, look at the issues associated with what we've made, and those revisions are based on our review of all the comments since April. So
Right.
it's, that's what those revisions are based on, and there are a number of revisions. So that's what we're asking people to take a close look at. It's marked in red of what Nan has given us, so you don't need to look at the whole thing in order to identify what they are, and then and to work with us on getting your comments back, so that when we
Please.
are returning something to Nan, there is a cohesive cohesiveness to what we're giving back to Nan, and that she's clear on the actions that she needs to take. If there's any discussion required because of your comments, then we will organize ourselves so that those discussions can occur. Richard?
Yeah, I think in regard to comments, and I realize, Nan's got to wrap up what she's got to wrap up, but even after that point, we need to be accumulating those comments. We need to be open to taking as many comments as we can whenever they come in.
Absolutely.
And get to them. This is important, and we need to have that public input as much as possible.
Yeah, there's no question about that, Richard, and we will continue to do that. It's just that we will not take those comments and try to squeeze them into or react to them in terms of getting what we're getting to Nan now. As Judith said, that train has left, and we're going to move everything into the public comment stage and allow things to be managed from that point.
Right. I mean, the other thing I just wanted to say, again, to help the town board and the community is when we provide them with our revisions based on the comments we've received thus far, we will, let me let Laura in, sorry. We're also going to be writing up just a list of the changes that were made based on those comments. So this is another document we need to work on. I wanted to see if I know Jeff isn't here, but we'll start with the subgroup of Judy and myself. And I know Judy, you have time constraints coming up as well. So this again is something that we want to get done sooner than later.
I'll get caught up before I leave for Iceland.
Okay, good. So maybe after we get the document,
I hope.
After we get the document to Nan, then we can work on that piece next, because that's already started. Jeff Collins is coming in, so we're gonna have a full house.
Good.
Great. Okay. And I just also want to acknowledge what Richard said. We've never stopped taking comments. We've never stopped considering comments, and that everything that and we've heard the whole array of concerns and questions, and as I said, nothing's been left on the floor. Everything is incorporated into our thinking and will continue to be, and then the town board can give us some direction. Judy.
Yeah, I wasn't meaning to say that we weren't going to take input, but at a certain point, we have to give it to the town board.
Yeah.
At a certain point, we have to give it to Nan. It has to be in a form that the town board can get. And to keep getting things dribbling in, at the 11th hour, it's just not feasible.
Right. We didn't start this yesterday. This has been going on for a while. And fortunately, there's been a lot of effort this group has put in, even over the summer, with many other things going on in everyone's lives and all the other committees and boards that people are participating in.
I wanted to further echo what Deborah is saying right now in response to what Richard is saying, and also in response to one of our guests today, is that we needn't be concerned about running out of time and making comments, because your comments will be reviewed and considered. So just know that that's the case. The public comment period will be sufficient for comments to be made and for people to make their expressions heard. So they just wanted to alleviate that concern as well, even though maybe it's just been recently that some people have gotten into reviewing what we've been working on for the past 2.5 years.
Can we just recap for Laura and Jeff the timeline? So we've extended until Tuesday for you to review what changes have been made based on the input we've gotten and our discussions and decisions here to guide those changes that Nan has put into a document. So we need to get it to her by the end of the day on Tuesday. So if you can please do that. if you need any help in terms of, I sent Judy one that I'm working on the subdivision. And she can add her comments. And again, if we can coordinate everybody's timing, so Nan has fewer documents to try and consolidate, we want to try and do that. I just want to mention one other thing, that because we are making some changes to things that are outside of the code itself, but that appear in the reader's aid boxes as well, just to double check those reader's aid boxes when you go through the document to make sure we've captured everything.
So they don't say something that is different from what's actually in the law.
Right.
Correct.
Exactly. And that's what
Yeah.
Deborah's pointing out, is that the reader's
Right.
aid boxes need to be aligned with what they
Right.
change you've made.
Right.
And then I think that there's another element that we should, we as a task force will be working on giving additional documents besides what Nan is going to be providing and what we're going to be giving to the town board. There'll be a few additional documents that will help the public see the summary of work related to the comments that we've been reviewing since July. So that document will also be worked on, and we will do what we've done in the past, where we'll make a shorter version of that document to make it easy for people to just access it. And then we will, for the record, be providing a document that has all the comments that we've received in a document, and we'll be showing that and where the source came from. Specifically when it came from a committee or a board, but that may not be delivered. That document may not be delivered
Gonna
on the
happen later on.
Yeah, it'll happen later on the record. That's what I mean by as a document of record. But we will be giving a document that will make it easy for people to understand what has changed since the April 19th submission that we gave, April 18th, excuse me. And then the new one that's going to be released very soon. So there'll be that ability to view those differences there.
The other thing was just for Jeff and Laura. So once Nan has our document on Tuesday, she's going to work starting Wednesday to just do any cleanup, any changes, anything, and any questions she has for us, so that we can get something back from her by the end of the week. And then we could, along with the accompanying separate document of the changes, where we receive comments, what the changes we've made to the town board. One of the challenges with this is, and I think part of it is perception. Again, we're not rewriting the whole code. We're only doing parts of it. And so we're trying to distill it so that the town board and the community really can focus in and zero in on what are those key elements that we are proposing in these zoning and subdivision updates. So that's, as well as doing the more comprehensive document that Kirk described with, all the comments, all the evaluation, how we, address them. So that's a separate thing, but we want it to be digestible for folks, and to really start from that place.
Yeah, and what we're doing today is simply giving people an update, and we're not really going to be reviewing any of the content that we're talking about, because people still need to review it themselves and then get that document back, as Deborah said, by Tuesday, end of business. So it gives us a little bigger window, each of us here give a bigger window from now until Tuesday, to take the time to really thoroughly review the comments and make the changes that Nan has written in the code, and then add any comments if necessary. And that the other point that we would need to make, and we will be addressing this, I'm just want to state this for the record, is that there's myths running around our town being pumped through social media and such. And so we will address some of those myths. For instance, Deborah's alluded to it a lot this morning, of the 300-page document, how many pages did we actually add, which is more along the lines of 50 pages, which is only because we consolidated, and made a housing chapter, which does not exist in the current code. So, and then the additional pages came from other laws that were adopted last year.
Right, the wellhead protection, the telecommunications law, those are all additional things that have to be put in to the document by law. So
Right, by
we're,
law.
The
And then-
telecommunications are 50 pages all by itself, and that was in addition because of telecommunications, totally.
Exactly. So that was 50 pages more than what we never did anything associated with that. And the wellhead protection wasn't very significant, but it was still a
It
number
was 10. It was about 10 pages.
for
I think that was
14, I have 14.
yeah, about 14. Yeah, yeah. So
those are pages that this committee had nothing to do with, and made the law larger in that regard. But
Yeah.
we have a very small fraction because we were only focused on housing. We weren't really
And one other thing that we were asked to do that Nan did was the authorization of the planning board was not in the zoning code previously. And that's a separate chapter that Nan wrote that will be in the code that's required by New York State law.
Exactly.
For the town to have by municipal law. So that's another piece of work that's in there. Nan, am I correct on that, Nan? Is that?
Yeah, it's all the instructions on how the planning board is formed, how it works, how it makes its decisions, what it's authorized to do. That was needed to be added in. So I think that
Okay.
that will help the planning board immensely to have those instructions.
Legally
Thank
too.
you for that.
Yes, yes. They have to follow state law and how they do their process.
Precisely. Yeah, it's required by law. So is there anything else that we need to be here today to discuss? We just wanted to give people an update. And let's be in communication over these next days until Tuesday. And then also immediately after Tuesday, then we'll circle the wagons, if you will, and try to and work to assemble the accompanying document that will go along with our submission to the town board.
Yes.
And so if we are complete with our official part of the meeting, I'd like to acknowledge, and then
I just have one quick question. So when you send
dude,
me,
I see your hand, so we'll see. Okay.
when you send me the stuff on Tuesday, is it going to be like a punch list, or is it going to be everybody's comments that I need to collate? What is it actually that you're going to be sending me?
The latter.
Yeah, the latter. It's, I believe our goal is to have it be the latter, to have it be everybody's comments to consolidate, which we're going to try and pre-consolidate if we
Okay.
can, to
Okay.
make it easier for you. The punch list was for you initially, so you could see, for instance, when we looked at the definitions of affordable housing, affordable eligibility, to align those with what the county and the other entities that have been working on that to make sure that we had those corrected, for instance, those kinds of things.
Okay. I just didn't know if I was going to get, 5 bullets, or if I'm going to get 5 files that have to go through to look for
Yeah,
the.
we'll do our best to not have that happen.
We're
Okay.
going to try and make it less than 5.
We'll consolidate it so that you have it, and maybe Deborah and I will work on that.
Yeah, I mean, everyone, if they're editing in Word, should have, when we combine it, it'll be another color than mine. So I'll be able to tell one from the other. As long
Okay.
as I know what the comments are and what those suggested edits may be, as long as I can find them, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and I think, we'll talk about that, Deborah.
Okay.
how it is.
Okay.
Okay, we'll have to figure that out.
So what I'd like to do is have a motion that there's really nothing more for us to discuss as a task force, so we can move to a brief period of public comments, and allow Jude and maybe George too, if he's interested, in making their brief comments. Is that?
yeah, I'll
Yeah,
second that.
And can we also just say, these are short, so we're trying to, so 2-minute, okay, Jude.
Good.
I know that it could go on forever. That's another conversation, but we do want to hear from you and appreciate you coming.
So we have a motion and everyone's, there was a second, Laura second. So we will now end our official portion of the meeting and now we'll move to the public.
When's are we gonna meet again, or is this our last meeting?
We'll be in communication because we will need to meet again if
Yeah,
there's, but anticipate that this could be our last meeting in this
I
week.
don't know.
And
The
then
last one, no, the last one this week, right? And
I didn't know we
hopefully-
were gonna try to meet Tuesday, since you.
Oh.
Although I actually, my calendar is kind of full Tuesday, but that's okay.
all right.
you know, I think we're gonna have to see, I mean, if anybody has any questions or concerns about getting their review back or consolidating it with one of ours, since some of us have already gone through it or have gone through most of it and can pass it on to you to add your comments, Laura, which I know you've done that in the past.
Right. Yeah.
Right, so I'd be happy to coordinate that with you. We want to make it efficient for Nan, but also complete for everybody. So let's put our pedal to the metal this week to try and coordinate that. And that will help us understand if we need to meet again also.
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
Okay.
Great. Again, we're ending the official portion of it. Now we'll move to Jude. And then also, George, I see your hand is up, so you can remove it. We'll come to you. Go ahead, Jude.
Thanks for letting me talk, guys. I just want to address one specific thing, Deborah, just a question I had, and I had spoken to Laura about this at our zoning revision committee meeting. We had sent a recommendation over that we thought that in order to be able to have an ADU, it should be the primary residence of the owner. And I don't know if you ever received that. I asked her about that. She wasn't sure. But I just want to emphasize how important that is. When the original accessory apartment law was put into place, its purpose was really to help the resident. It was to help a lot of seniors who could no longer keep their homes. And the idea was it would benefit some renters, it would benefit the owners. But if we open that up to everybody, then it becomes another vehicle for investment and probably another vehicle for illegal short-term rentals. So I don't know if you ever got that recommendation, but I just want to emphasize it again. You know, the other thing I just want to say briefly, and then I will stop, is that I do appreciate you guys opening up your meetings. The ones where you've had discussions about actual content have been very helpful to understand how you got to where you are and why you might consider making changes. I did hear a brief discussion about the ADUs, but I never heard the resolution about whether or not you were going to require primary residence.
Right.
That's all I wanted to say today. So thank you.
Okay. So we did receive that comment, and we will revisit, evaluate. I just want to make sure that we've gotten everything we need in your explanation of what your concerns were.
Okay.
So,
I think the CBA also sent a similar comment.
yeah, we have those as well.
Yeah.
All right. I don't want to take any more of your time.
No, it's good. Thank you.
So before the task members raise their hands, I saw Richard and Jude. I would like Judith.
I'm good.
I would like to go to George and have him make his comments, please. George, you can unmute yourself and
Yeah, I just have to find my cursor.
yeah.
Okay. No, I don't have any specific comments to make. I've been in communication with Judy a little about the maps, which I think she agrees with me would be important, even though it's a really accessory document. It's the sort of thing people look at. So I've been looking. I haven't been able to attend the meetings before. Middle of the day often doesn't work for me. But I appreciate being here today, and I appreciate all the work you've been doing. I just quickly scrolled through the annotated documents, about 100 pages with significant changes on. But I'm glad for the clarification today of what the time frame will be for additional comments, and you're not sort of putting a cutoff deadline for additional comments, because I'm sure there will be some. And that's about it. I've been following it fairly closely for the last 6 months anyway, not for the last 2 years. So
Right.
thank you all for all the work you're doing. I know how much work's involved. I've been trying to contribute to some of the other things like the zoning revision committee and housing committee. And there's so many committees in Woodstock, it's hard to attend them all. I think there's a planning board meeting tonight as well. Okay, but thank you, and thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you, George.
Thank you,
Thank you
George.
for coming.
Yeah.
We do appreciate it.
Richard and then Judith.
Oh, Deb answered my question. I just wanted to be clear, make sure we had it and Jude's, what they sent over and,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
you were clear.
Yeah.
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 And
Judy,
Yeah.
you're muted.
I wanted to get some clarification from Jude about her ADU observation. There are, according to my run of statistics, about a third of the one-family houses in Woodstock, the primary mailing address for the owner is not in Ulster County. So are you saying that you would not want to see ADUs authorized if somebody's primary residence where they get their mail or where they vote from isn't in Woodstock? Is that what you're suggesting? I just want to be clear about it.
It's what the law is now.
That's what the law is now?
It's what the law is now. Yes, and I would like to
So-
see that continued, yes.
We weren't looking at changing that.
Yeah.
I didn't see it in your rewrite that it was still in there.
we'll
Well,
double check that,
We
Jude.
did
We'll double check
change-
that.
we
That's
did
why I
We'll
wanted
double
to
check
the
that.
homeowner occupation, or
Yeah.
the
Owner-
owner occupied status. Or that was changed early on, way back, so it's not in this latest round.
Right.
So that was changed.
It was.
the Law
So now,
does say owner
What was
occupied.
what was changed again, Nan? So so our law as it reads today, Nan, how does that read now? If you're
So-
gonna have an ADU, it doesn't have to be a private resident primary?
No, it does, it doesn't have to be the principal dwelling on
Principal
the
dwelling.
property does not have to be owner occupied.
Correct.
Okay.
So yes, that was a change, and that came about because owner occupation, it does limit, and the research that's been done around the United States show that having a requirement for owner occupation is a limiting factor for getting ADUs. So it's a recommendation that they not be required to be owner occupation. And I don't want to get into, this is a discussion for the committee to get into. I
Right.
just wanted to clarify that it was changed and the committee could change it back if they wanted
could
to.
change it back. So
we're
we'll
gonna have to
revisit.
Consider that.
Right. And we will revisit as we
I
have.
think it would be helpful to know why people who think that that ought to be there feel that way. I can kind of see the point, but I'd like to.
Can I say? So my point was before, the whole purpose of it, when it originally came out, was to help residents who could no longer afford to stay in their homes, remain in their homes. Okay, that was the original purpose. And it also provided more rentals. At that time, that wasn't an issue in town. We now know that short-term rentals have consumed all the long-term rentals. So my point is, Woodstock has become a very attractive place for people to invest their money. And they really don't live here anymore. They're not part of the community. The way your short-term rental law, not the short-term, the accessory dwelling unit law read, with the changes that the county had given, it did not have to be your primary residence. So that means you're not a community member. And the first unit had to be a long-term rental. There was nothing in there about it having to be affordable. So the way I'm looking at this now is you are making this, a huge invitation for people outside of time. Just please let me, Deborah, since
Yeah. Okay.
She's just raising her hand to let people know that she's interested in speaking next, that's all.
All right, the other thing that I did point out, and I think that the zoning revision committee pointed out, if you do not make the primary residence, the primary residence have to be somebody's home primary, I don't know how to say this. If you do not make the main residence have to be somebody's primary residence, the way the law is now, that could be a short-term rental. There's just a lot of, this is where, right, Deborah, the devil is in the details. And I'm looking at those details and I'm saying, okay, right now, the first accessory dwelling unit has to be a long-term rental. It can't be a short-term rental, but there's nothing in there saying that the main residence can't be a short-term rental.
So I do want to speak to that, Jude, because I hear what you're saying. We've read all those comments. We're going to reread them in part because you're here, which is great. because it's just bringing back this question and making sure we thoroughly understand, A, what your comments are, and B, the changes. I can tell you, we're not really ready 100%, but we are evaluating all of those issues and questions that you have just explained. And so, because it is important that we want to promote the options for affordability, we don't want to promote speculation. We want to find ways to have people be part of our community. We can't mandate it. We can't mandate people to be part of our community. What we can do is provide incentives and opportunities for people to be able to live here affordably, so they can, so they can stay here as seniors, so they can work in our stores, so they can be artists, so all the things that you and I have been part of for so many years, and so I think we're on the same page, and how we actually do that is what we're working out now. I just want to say one other thing is that I do remember when the original law was passed, and that was a while ago. It's not to say that everything there is good or bad. We're just looking at it in today's world with as you say, short-term rentals weren't even an issue then. So we're trying to understand all of those complexities in trying to make the best decisions now about how we can articulate what we need to for this next phase. And I see Nan's hands up.
Well, Nan, and then also Jeff. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Nan.
I just wanted to remind the task force that if you decide you want to do that, then we do have to spend some time on defining what owner occupied means. It's a sticky point, and it's not so easy to define what owner occupied means. Is it a weekend? No. Is it a week? Is it a month? Is it 6 months? Is it whatever? In different places do it different ways. So that is the devil in the details to make that if you decide that that's what you want to do, then we have to clearly identify what that really means. So just a reminder that it's kind of a two-part decision, to do it or not do it, and then to have the right definitions.
Okay, that's something we'll take into account. Thank you.
And Jeff, and then Richard has his hand up now too. So Jeff?
Yeah, we did talk about this, and I think we have actually responded to the comment in our comment responses. And part of the reason that I personally do not feel that we want to keep the restriction to owner occupied is it's somewhat meaningless, because you don't know what that means, first of all. Secondly, it reduces the opportunity for people to build ADUs. If you own an apartment house that you're renting to someone in Woodstock in a long-term rental, would be great if you could build an ADU and rent another long-term rental to someone else in Woodstock. So it does afford us more housing if we can do it that way. And third, so you build an ADU while you're a primary resident, and then you sell both things. You're no longer a primary residence, someone else moves in and does something too. So it's meaningless to say that. And then the last point is, I think that falls into the same category as the STR lawsuit in New Orleans, where you're prohibiting people who are from out of state from doing something that someone that's in state can do. So those are my thoughts on that, and that's why I think it's a real sticky point. I don't think it helps us to create more housing by putting that in there. I think it restricts us from making more housing, as Nan said earlier. That's just my thought on it. But those will come in comments later.
Yeah. I think we're going to evaluate it based on what we've looked at before and discussed, and the comments, the discussion here today.
Richard?
Yeah, I just briefly, to Jude's point, not specifically to that point, but in general, I think when you do something like we're trying to do, everybody's trying to contribute to, you do sometimes create loopholes. And I think that's what I hear from Jude is we have to be mindful, did we create something that was unintended? And we just need to be careful there. So I appreciate that thought. It just made me think, not that we have to review everything, but is there some unintended consequence to what we've done? And that's where we go.
Yep.
Yeah,
I don't want
I just want to call, I just want
I'm
to call
sorry, Laura,
attention.
just before you start, Richard, you weren't done. I thought you were finished.
I don't want to create a situation where we open things up to even more illegal STRs.
Absolutely.
You know,
I think we're all on the same page
Well,
about it.
we also need to get our SDR law in much better order, and I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah,
That's
we're not
nice
going to
to-
get in this task.
it'd be nice to enforce some of it, you know.
Yeah.
That too.
Laura?
Yeah, I was going to call attention in case people didn't see it. Georgia's comment in the chat,
Yeah,
I thought
yeah.
was a good comment. And the other thing I will say about the STR law is happily the zoning revision committee just completed work on the scenic overlay law had come back to the ZRC. We completed work on that. Our next meeting that we have, which is the 4th Monday of this month, will be on STRs. And as long as I have Richard on the call here, Richard, you're kind of an expert. Do you have any desire to join the ZRC as we discuss STRs?
Say it again.
Just for
Oh,
that.
say it again. I've retired.
Okay, well, we're on our own, but just remember, I've invited you. If you ever want to weigh in, you're an expert at it. So
I'm not an expert, but I am aware of situations and, you know, well,
I'm not volunteering, but I have something to say.
and if you're volunteering, no, I'm kidding.
So,
No.
Deborah, and then I have a comment also. Go ahead,
Okay,
Deborah.
I just wanted to say, so you all know that I'm also on the housing committee. And the housing committee has looked at short-term rentals also. We had a couple of sessions with Granicus that some of you know about. The county has a shared services agreement with Granicus. We're trying to get the county to do more with that to see if that's another tool the town can use for enforcement. But I think and at our meeting last night, I brought up the suggestion that particularly those on the housing committee that have been working on short-term rentals meet with the zoning revision committee as you are looking
Good.
at that question, because we have information. We weren't part of the short-term rental task force, but we have information that we think could be helpful in your deliberations.
Excellent, excellent.
All right, before I comment, Jeff has his hand up. Go ahead.
But George's comments maybe get around primary owner issue by a negative, the main residence shall not be used for STR. We've actually changed it to say that now. That is the things that we did change.
Yeah.
Which
So
we are changing.
And
but-
Jude further explains what a primary resident is, and through.
So basically, we're saying that if you have an ADU, you can't do the trick of moving into ADU and STRing your main residence. That we're trying to avoid that happening.
Yeah.
And that was a Jude comment at a ZRC meeting, which
Right.
also got heard, and that's
Right.
I think how we address the underlying concern about having to create more STRs, more illegal STRs.
Right. I think we're wrapping up here, but I wanted to just take a moment to, and Nan, I so appreciate you hang out with us in these moments. We're just answering man and all the everything's going, and I thank you for that. I see you taking notes. I just wanted to point out to those who are guests here tonight, the kind of what you've been witnessing here. This is what's been going on for 2.5 years. Every single detail, every single element of this zoning has gone through the mill of discussions and has been, really voted on based on after long discussions. So this is a witness. You're witnessing the making of the sausage, so to speak, in this little micro meeting here today. And this has really been going on for 2.5 years, Jude. Every single topic.
And I want to add to that, Kirk, when you're done.
Go ahead.
The one thing that when we did set up, and I thank Laura for pushing us to do this early on, the zoning updates at woodstockny.org, that's been a way for us to capture individuals as well as committee comments. And when we didn't hear from committees, we went to them and said, please give us your comments. You're not required to, but we really want to hear from you. And if we didn't understand what they were proposing, we had some questions for the planning board. They went back and they revisited and gave us some clarity about what they were trying to do. So we just want to say that that's how we feel that we've been endeavoring to really take into account everything that's been said from every source. And it's not going to be, nothing's perfect. It's not going to be to everybody's liking every single thing, but we are really trying to understand what people are trying to achieve in their comments and how we can meet the needs of the town that we feel has been our charge and is a huge critical matter for the whole community as we move forward, that we really figure out a path that we can all take. So that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah. So I see George's comments about the work that he's doing. So and Jude, your statement of unintended consequences clearly
Forever. It's always going to be there, which is why we have to revisit periodically, which is one of our recommendations.
One of our recommendations, and there's another element to this I wanted to speak to, is two more things. So one is that the town board owns a responsibility once we get this over to them. They're the ones who have to, add additional policy, add additional incentives, add additional ways in which enforcement can occur. All of those things are going to be in the hands of the town board, and they better own that responsibility, because zoning is just a way of defining land use. It is not the way in which you can make it happen, right? And so it is just simply that. The other thing I wanted to say is that, Nan, in the very beginning of our project, she brought us around to this intent. What's our intent? What's the intent of our efforts, of all these changes? And so we went through an exercise in the very beginning and anchored our understanding of, why we were doing what was behind it. And the mission statement we wrote was anchored in that. And that was based on being, this is a result of the comprehensive plan, frankly. And then we're trying to align the zoning laws of our town to the comprehensive plan. And that's been our intent all along. And so that, it was the efforts that Nan clarifying how this volunteer group, needs to be aligned in understanding of what are the operating principles of all of our decisions. And it's, of course, it's been Nan's expertise that's kept us aligned with the laws of the land. We didn't make up these laws. Nan's been the one who's sort of kept it within the realm of real. And so has John Lyons. So we had expertise along the way so it wasn't just volunteers making us up. So those are the points I needed to make on this. And I do believe that we should probably work on concluding our meeting in the next moments or so. And so, Jude, and George, thank you for joining us today.
Yeah,
and
truly, thank you.
I think you can add that it's been, you can see that we take people's input as a form of value, as an input from our town, and so it's important for us to acknowledge that, and it's important for the town to know that they're being heard, and I think that's why the public comment period is going to be happening in the very near future. That this is an important part of our town's ethos and the values that we have in our town of working to be as best a community we can be.
Laura had her hand up.
Oh, Laura, I'm sorry, I didn't see it.
Yeah.
You were a little bit
No,
in the witness protection program here, so
I am. I'm at the glow.
you got the glow, so.
Yeah. So George, I just read your last comment. Can I get you with you, George, offline? Would you be willing to help give advice on what the town website ought to look like? Can I, not I'm asking you to do it, but you've got good ideas. So can I get with you offline to talk about that?
Probably design it from sometime after 1995.
There you go. We have an archaic tool, which is the issue. It has some limitations. But anyway, George, can I get with you offline? He's on mute. He's looking away.
Yeah, that's okay. You just say yeah.
thumbs-
Go like this, George.
You're on
Give
mute.
a thumbs up. Give a
Just
thumbs
thumbs
up or
up.
down.
It's all right. I'm looking for my cursor again because I was looking something up on the other screen. Laura, you may remember I suggested making the Woodstock Democratic Committee website. I suggested we should have one, and everyone looked at me and said, "Oh,
George,
George."
thanks.
Yes.
And then you
So-
did it. You did a beautiful job. So anyway, I don't want to
We
derail
can,
this meeting, but
we
can
can
I get,
talk about it in private, but
just
yeah.
talk offline?
I mean, I
Okay,
understand it's part of a big commercial system, and I don't know the person who
yeah.
is responsible, and it's a lot of work for one person to do. But yeah, we can certainly talk about it.
Well, no, and the town would do it, but I think your advice would be great. And Judy and I were talking about maps. And so I'd like to tie Judy in too, because you want to get maps so that they made more sense to find the maps. So so I'll get with both of you offline and we'll try to do something.
Yeah, it's just if you want to look at the minutes of the meeting, not sure whether to go to the minutes tab or the committee tab with minutes and blah, blah, blah. It's just crazy. I had to ask Melissa initially, I think, where to find your documents, and she couldn't immediately find them, but she's terrific.
Right. Yeah. So we should talk about that. All right. Thank you.
Okay.
So,
we're-
yes,
We're
Richard.
done. No, he's saying goodbye.
Oh,
right?
you, yeah. So we have a motion to end the meeting. It's
I
second.
move
Okay,
a
second.
second.
And thank you everyone for being
Thank you.
here.
Thanks,
especially
Nan.
you. Thank you for
You'll be
being.
hearing from us very
Yeah.
soon.
Okay. sounds
Get
good.
your comments back to us by Tuesday, and you'll
Okay.
hear from Deborah and I in the near future.
And we're gonna be following up with you before Tuesday, just to make sure we're on
Perfect.
track with everything,
Absolutely.
okay? Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All
Bye,
right.
everybody. Enjoy the sunshine.
Thank you.
Yay.
Yeah.
On
Bye-bye.
the last.